Hey guys, what's up? Today, talking about the NFC East, and no shocker here, I've got the Rams winning the division. Called a homer move, but it is what it is. There's definitely reasons for it. So, we'll go ahead and we'll start out talking about the Rams. So, I've got them winning 12 games. All right. And at first, I had this at 13, and my reasoning was, well, Matthew Stafford's second year, uh, you know, touchdown's going to stay about the same, but the interceptions will go down. And so my reasoning for it was kind of just less interceptions. Because last year, let's be honest here. Yeah, he had some games where he had like 3 interceptions and wasn't pretty. And, some of the things we heard was like, well, he's a baller. He's a gamer, right? Gamers don't care. They're going to throw the ball. If it ends in an interception, they're going to let it go. They're going to move on. They're still going to go out and try to win the game, right? That always seemed like a weird, kind of like lame reasoning, right? Could it not have just been that, the big lights, the pressure of being an LA Ram, all those eyes on you, and knowing you're expected to win, not you're fighting to win, as he had experienced previously, kind of was a big weight on his shoulder, right? For the regular season, and even in some of the playoff games, we saw not the best, maybe, decisions on Matthew Stafford's part. So I think as he grows more comfortable in what it is to be a Ram, the big pressure, the bright lights, right? I think the interceptions do go down, but I thought they don't need to win 13 games, right? Like, I think if it goes the way that I've got it mapped out, they won't need that extra win for anything. Because I've got the Niners winning 10 games, so if you've got 12 wins, and I've also got it to where they sweep the division but split with the Niners, so I've got it to where the Niners don't sweep the rest of the division and split with the Rams. So there should be no worry about getting the number 1 seed. Like, it should be a done deal. It should be, okay, we're good. Let's rest. Let's get to the playoffs. And, a few different players to talk about. I already talked about Matthew Stafford a little bit. I want to talk about Cooper Kupp. Before we get there, let's bring up the tendonitis real quick with Matthew Stafford. And so in his throwing arm, he's got tendonitis in his elbow, been getting injections for it, right? It's like nobody really knows what to think about this, but some of the, medical people on different radio stations, podcasts that I listen to, different shows that I listen to, they talk about how it shouldn't really be that big of a worry for this season. And it's just the wording and the way it's come off that's really causing people to freak out about it. Like I think McVay said, well, it's an abnormal thing to see in a football player and a quarterback. And, which that's true, right? It's mainly like a baseball thing for pitchers. But everything I've heard from people I trust, they've all made it sound like we shouldn't really be worried about that this year. And then Cooper Kupp. So I've already talked to you guys about how, me and an old roommate had a discussion on who the coldest white receiver was, coldest white boy wide receiver in the league was, and I would say Cooper Kupp. Obviously, he proved that last year, right? Now, do I think he replicates and repeats like exactly what he did last year? I don't think he'll have as many touchdowns, but with that being said, I think it's the type of regression where you get to the end of the season and you say, Cooper Kupp's done it again, right? 2 seasons in a row from Cooper Kupp. Uh, I don't know if that means number one fantasy receiver because I don't have him statted out as that, but I think it means 2 seasons in a row of greatness from Cooper Kupp. 2 unbelievable seasons from Cooper Kupp. And so, in the past, I've really kind of stayed away from Rams pass catchers. Why? Not because I didn't have hope in them or didn't think they were good, uh, but really it's like a weird juju kind of thing. Like, that's my team, and I feel like, oh, if I'm relying on these guys for fantasy, then it's bound to go wrong, and they're bound to get injured. And so it's kind of just a weird thing of why I've stayed away from them. But I will say this year, if it's the right pick, and for me, the right pick is depending on who's there at pick 5 or pick 6. If Cooper Kupp is there, and like Austin Eckler's off the board, Jonathan Taylor's off the board, which obviously JT would be, Justin Jefferson is off the board, then I'm going to be taking Cooper Kupp there. However, one pass catcher on this offense that a lot of people like and are hyping up, and I think he'll have a good season, I just haven't been in a position to draft him, is Allen Robinson. And I think that kind of goes with the way I draft, like where he's going. I'm not really looking for wide receiver there. And so I think that's why I haven't gotten him. It's not to say that I don't think he'll have a good season, because I think he'll have a good season. We've seen the Rams support 2 pass catchers in the past without Matthew Stafford. So I think it's a fairly simple thing to get done. Now we're going to move on and we're going to talk about the Niners. So the 49ers, I've got them at 10 wins this year. And it starts out, the Bears win, Seahawks win, Broncos win, then the Rams. And this is the first game I have them losing. So 3-1 to start out. And we're going somewhere with this. Then it's going to go on to the Panthers win, Falcons win, and then the Chiefs. And that's going to be a loss. So let's move back to the Rams game. Now, 3-0 going into the Rams game, a much tougher opponent. I think the reason they start out 3-0 is, one, because I think they have better all-around team than these other teams, than the Bears and the Seahawks and the Broncos. Now, you might hear that about the Broncos and think, whoa, that's crazy, but I've got them beating the Broncos because Shanahan stays scheming, all right? Shanahan is a great coach. He's a good coach, and that's why they're going to start out 3-0. And then they're going to play the Rams, and that's not going to be decided by the coach because the coaches, we'll just say, even each other out. They equal out. However, on the field, the quarterbacks do not. And I like Trey Lance this season. I think I've got him in my top 15 projected quarterbacks. But I think Matthew Stafford wins that battle, especially with us knowing how gritty and how tough those 49ers and Rams games have been recently. I think it's just too much for the Rook to handle, right? And so they lose to the Rams. Then Panthers, Falcons win. Then to the Chiefs, they lose. And so we're going to get to a point in the season this year where we're looking at the 49ers and we're saying they have a good record, but can they beat a team over 500? And in the big scheme of things throughout the whole season, I think they're lucky they have an easier schedule, lucky that the NFC West is not sort of the powerhouse that it has been in previous years. And I think that's going to handle nicely for, a young. I called Trey Lance a rookie earlier. He is not a rookie. This is his first official season starting, though. Anyways, I think that, like I said, NFC West easier. I think they'll be able to uh, mature against easier opponents, be able to come out with some wins because they do have a better coach. Trey Lance is going to be capable. They've got good weapons around him. They've got a good offensive line. They've got a good defense. I think that this is a well-built team, and it's set up so that a young quarterback can grow in confidence. Now, I don't think that they do well against teams that are above 500. Like, I've got them splitting with the Rams, like I said. So I do think they'll beat the Rams whenever they play later. And then I do think that they will beat the Saints. Now, off the top of my head, really any other teams that are going to be like elite teams, I don't know. I think they do have an easy schedule. And that's going to be a big part of the 10-0 and just how great their coach is. And so I want to talk real quick about Debo. Debo and Elijah Mitchell. Now, both of these guys, I'm not keen to taking a wide receiver where Debo is going, but more often than not in drafts where, it's guys that actually know what they're doing, I find myself at a spot where the running backs that I'm looking at there, I'm like, I can probably wait. Maybe I've already got a stud running back on my team, and Debo is just the right move. However, if I ever did go, like let's say Cooper Kupp in the first, he fell to me, and then my second pick, Debo, is there, I'm probably not going to be taking Debo. Even if a running back is there that I'm not as high on, I would probably take that running back just because I think the running back is a necessity. I think it's important to have one of those top guys. And speaking of top guys, Elijah Mitchell, I love where he's going in drafts. I've picked him up in a lot of drafts to round out, be my third running back, sometimes even my second, but usually it's my third. And that's best case scenario for me. I love that. And I feel weird giving this information out because I think most of the people that watch this I'm probably in fantasy leagues with. And so don't take Elijah Mitchell from me, please. But yeah, I like Elijah Mitchell this year. I like Debo this year. So then moving on to the Cardinals. I've got them at 8 wins. And so they'll start out 0-3. They've got the Chiefs, Raiders, and Rams. So not going to be a good start. We all know they're going to be out D-Hop for the first 6 weeks. And I think there's a very obvious reason if you watch Hard Knocks. They do an in-season series now. And they've got the Cardinals for in-season this year. And I think it's because Hard Knocks will never choose for the in-season a team that's probably going to have like 7 wins at that point. That's probably going to have 8 wins at that point. Or 6 wins at that point. And it just, I don't think it would make for the best TV. Okay, so we've got a team in front of us that's been winning, that we think is probably going to keep winning. No, it sets it up nice. Without D-Hop, and really just because I don't think the Cardinals are that good of a team, they don't have a great O-line. They don't have a great defensive line. Now, I know J.J. Watt is over there, but really that's it. That's all they have on their defensive line. And their offensive line is kind of garbage. And so, we'll get to the in-season Hard Knocks, and they'll probably be sitting at about 3 wins, 4 wins, just over 500, right at 500. And it'll be good TV because it's like this team is going to be fighting potentially for a playoff spot, potentially for second in the NFC West. What could happen? And I don't have D-Hop making a crazy difference whenever he comes back, but I do have him helping out significantly whenever he does come back. So I think, knowing that this team probably isn't going to start out winning is a large part, a large reason of why Hard Knocks would have chosen them. And with D-Hop coming back. Just good storyline, interesting. And one of the reasons I only have them winning 8 wins this season is because they're not disciplined. All right? They're really kind of just bozos. All right? I mean, all this stuff that's gone on with Kyler Murray this offseason about the contract and, the clause in there that had him saying, he would study for 4 hours every week, and then that clause being taken out, and then Marquise Brown showing up and then getting arrested for like criminal speeding or something. It's weird. And another guy that got arrested for speeding once he became a Cardinals was who was the linebacker they picked last year from Tulsa. I'm going Collins, the Collins boy. So he gets drafted and he goes to Arizona and he gets in trouble for speeding. And it's like, I don't think that it's a very disciplined organization. Not in the sense of like, there's consequences for their actions, but just the players that they have around them. I don't think that they have some inner discipline and a want to. I think they say, I'm good, I'm talented, I'm fast. Kyler probably thinking, no quarterback is like me, which, is true, and it's why he could be good. I've got him as a top 10 quarterback this year. But man, I think that this team could be better, and it's really disappointing that I don't think they will be at all. Period blank. And then the Seahawks. So this is kind of miserable to talk about, almost like the Falcons, right? Pete Carroll's even said before, Russell Wilson is the only reason I have a job, And of course, at the time, it was like it was a joke. It was funny. I don't think it was a joke at all. This is about to be embarrassing. Not even could you get like a Jimmy Garoppolo type. I'm not saying Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think it would have worked with them being in the same division, but a type, a Jimmy Garoppolo type. You had to go and get Drew Lock. Now, I know it was a part of the trade deal, but you were negotiating that trade deal. So you obviously, some part of you wanted Drew Lock. And what's weird is he was named the starter for this week's preseason game, and then he tested positive for COVID. So he had what it seems to be at least been winning the starting job just to test positive for COVID. So it's not going the Seahawks' way already in preseason. It's not. And we all saw Geno Smith last year, and it just wasn't good. It wasn't pretty. I hated watching the Seahawks with Geno Smith in at quarterback. And so, one of the guys that I like on this team though, or did like, was Rashad Penny. And I was thinking, sure, they've got the rookie Walker, and he'll probably have his moments, have his time to shine. But I think with Rashad Penny being the vet, being more proven, it'll probably go more towards Rashad Penny in the split. Probably like a 60-40, 65-35 split, Rashad Penny. And I was fine with that. It wasn't like I was drafting Rashad Penny as a hero RB or anything like that. It would probably have been my fourth whenever I did take him. Which now, Kenneth Walker, all the talk was like, oh no, Kenneth Walker here recently, he's taken over. It'll be him who has the majority of the work. And then he hurts himself, like injures his hamstring, I'm pretty sure. And so it's just like, with both of these guys, injury, I don't want to, say injury prone, But Rashad Penny, he has been, and Kenneth Walker, already struggling with the, hamstring stuff. That can affect a player pretty long term throughout the season if they don't deal with it right. And, I know I said all that stuff about how, without Russell Wilson, when the Seahawks are going to be garbage and how Pete Carroll said all that. But, in my first episode, I think it was, I talked about how I don't think the Broncos are going to do anything. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't have Russell Wilson being a good quarterback. I think you can be a good quarterback and still have a losing record, which I think will happen for the Broncos. But with the Seahawks, he was their glue. He was their glue. He was what made the offense run, And so it'll be kind of weird watching that this year, Seahawks without Russell Wilson, but hopefully they're able to get a good draft pick and get a good quarterback for next year, because this year I would say give up on it, Seahawks. Seahawk fans, give up on it. So that's all for today, guys. Next video is going to be out on Saturday. It's going to be a quarterback breakdown, and we're going to have a guest on for that video. It should be a lot of fun. So we'll see y'all later.